Purpose. Oh God, we all want to have a purpose, but how do you find it? Like, what if you feel like you're so stuck that you have no idea where your purpose is? What are you going to do? Who are you going to be when you grow up? What kind of a difference can you make? That can be a lot of pressure. So I want to give you a little bit of a roadmap on how you can start finding your purpose. Welcome to the Positivity Experience. Let's find some purpose, baby. Check it out. Hey, everybody, and welcome back to the Positivity Experience. It's your girl, Lori, and I am so excited to talk to you about today's episode or today's topic on this episode because so many people say, oh my God, I don't know what my purpose is. And you guys know I'm writing my book, my second book, and, there's a chapter in there on where was I when I felt like I just had no purpose? Like I just felt like I was just existing. And there's a difference between living and existing. And I think so many of us exist these days. And so living is a purpose, right? That's a purpose enough, is just being alive. But what are you going to do with that time, right? And that's what we're going to talk about today. But before I get into it, I want to welcome all the newest Patreon members. And over on Patreon today, we are talking about trusting other people and how you can get that trust back. So that's what we're talking about if you're over there. And this week on the abundance tier, you're going to get a very extra special episode. I'm not telling you what the topic is. You'll see if you're on that topic, if you're on that level. So I want to talk to you a lot, though, today about finding your purpose and what that even remotely looks like, right? So I think, first of all, you want to unbox what does having a purpose mean to you? Because it isn't just having a purpose, right? Everybody can say, I want a purpose, but my version of having a purpose and your version of having a purpose might be two different things. So I kind of wanted to unbox that piece first, and then I'm going to go in and I'll give you some steps on how you can actually find what your purpose is. But I also don't like saying have a purpose. I don't like saying that because you can have multiple purposes and your one purpose in life can change 3 or 4 times, 7, 8 times in your lifetime, right? Because every 7 years or so, you kind of go through, your body goes through a little bit of a transition. Your mind goes through a transition. What you liked at 20, good chance you might not still like at 50. And if you do, you might elevate it and do something different. And I think that's the first thing, because so many people, and I have a lot of college clients and, high school kids, and it is one of those things where it's like, well, I don't know what I want to be when I grow up. Well, that is different than having a purpose. Having a job and having a purpose is 2 different things. So your purpose has to be very inner. So I think that's the one thing, is because so many people go, well, I don't know if this job is for me. I don't know what my purpose is. Okay, your purpose and your job, yeah, in a perfect world, they will go hand in hand. But I was fortunate enough that that's what I do, but it didn't start off this way, right? I went through hell and back before I got here. Okay. And I never knew that this was my purpose. It kind of manifested itself. And that's the other part of it. You're trying to control your purpose. It's got to manifest through these next steps that I'm going to give you, right? I'm going to give them to you in a second. But you have to manifest them through the work that you do. It's not, this is my purpose, I'm going to go help people. Well, you realize saying I'm going to go help people is a really big umbrella, right? So you could help people in any type of way. You don't have to start your own business to help people. You could help people in a multitude of ways. So I think that's the first thing, is getting clear and understanding that your job does not define you. You hear me talk about that a lot. Your role in life does not define you. So if you go, my purpose in life is to be a mom. No, that's part of what you're doing in your life. That's not a purpose. Okay. You can say, oh my God, I really love it. Okay, great. I love that you love it. That doesn't necessarily make it your purpose. So I think when you get clear in what a purpose is, and you're going to see as I start giving you some of these sort of guides and steps that you can take to find what your purposes are. And I'll tell you why I like to say purposes plural, not just because you're going to outgrow some things and change and transition, but because anytime you give yourself one role, it's very limiting. So if you go, this is my purpose, there's one purpose on the planet, it's very limiting. So it's almost like your mind says to you, oh, well, this is your purpose. So we can't do these other things because that's not your purpose. And then you're going to miss out on opportunities. And that's that growth mindset. That's number one. Number one in finding your purpose is having a growth mindset. I did a podcast recently on mindsets and versus, fixed versus growth. And a fixed mindset is like, oh, well, I can't get better. Like there's somebody better than me, or I'll never be good enough. And, you're not looking for it. A growth mindset is going to allow you to have those failures, have those setbacks. So you can't find a purpose in a fixed mindset because you're only going to look at it from saying, well, this is what my mom and dad did. This is what society is telling me to do. My purpose must be blank, whatever that is. But in a growth mindset, and like I said, I encourage you to go back and listen to that episode on the podcast. But in a growth mindset, it is so unlimiting. Like it's not limiting at all. It's very broad. It's very wide. It gives you the opportunity to try new things. Realize that, yes, you do have to do your part. Yep, you do. You got to maybe get more education. Maybe you got to learn a new skill. But you're willing to do it knowing that even if it doesn't work, you've tried it and you've done it. So you need to have a growth mindset going into finding your purpose, right? Because if you're looking for this one specific strategy, one specific thing to do, it's going to be very, very limiting for you. And that goes into number 2. Right? So number 2, with that mindset. So now you have a growth mindset saying, okay, I can do something different than my parents did. I can believe something spiritually or politically different than what my friends do. Yes, you're allowed that. Yep, you are. So now that you have that to where you're like, okay, well, I'm more flexible now. Like I'm more open to things now. Great. I love that. But now what is your personal, I am Sean Connery today. What is your personal vision statement? Yeah. What is and this is going to be something I would love for you to sit with. You don't have to answer this question right now because it's going to take you some time to get to it because you have to know what your personal vision statement is. So you know how like, Nike's tagline is just do it. That's their vision statement. Just do it. Doesn't matter how you do it. Doesn't matter if you want to do it. Doesn't matter if you don't like doing it. You just do it. It's like a vision statement for them. Yes, it's a tagline, but it's also a vision statement for them. Inclusive, doing what you need to do. So what do you stand for? Number 1, what do you believe in? You're going to have to unbox this. This is not a quick vision statement. You shouldn't be like, well, this is my vision statement, unless you have been doing it for some time. And that statement can change over a period of time, but you have to know what your personal vision statement is, right? Because unless you know what you stand for, you're going to be in dead-end jobs, emotionally draining relationships. You're going to be needy. You're going to be codependent. You're going to attract unemotional and, detached people. And that's a thing, is that if you don't know what your personal statement is, you'll never know what your purpose is. Without a personal statement, you have no purpose because you're just existing. See, living and existing is 2 different things. I said that earlier. Existing is get up, make the donuts, go home. Yeah, we all have to exist from time to time, by the way. Every day isn't going to be you're living your best life. And your best life isn't you got $8 million in the bank, all of these things are happening. No, that's not living your best life. Living is living so in balance. Understanding what your word for the year is. Mine's simplicity. Other people have different words, right? And then you build your whole year around, simplicity and putting yourself as a priority and whatever your yearly vision statement is. You can have a life vision statement. You can have yearly vision statements. It's fine too. Okay. But I want you to get clear that existing and living are vastly different. If you're getting up and you're identified by your job, you're identified by your marriage, you're identified by your house, you're identified by anything, that is not living in a purpose. That's not living, that's existing. And yeah, we live in a world where those are material possessions. And yes, we have them. And yes, we desire them. And yes, we feel rewarded when we get it. And that's fine. But don't let that be your identity. If you let that be your identity, it's going to become problematic. Okay. It's going to be something where in that identity, you're going to lose all purpose because then you're doing what you're doing, but you're just existing. Okay. And that's where you have to be really careful. Now, a third way of finding your purpose is to be of service. That's right. Be of service. as human beings, right? Just now listen, this isn't about keeping score. This isn't like, well, I'm doing this, they're not doing. No. Be of service. You don't have to go above and beyond every single day, but a service-based mentality where, if you're being of service to people, like this podcast is of service. This is a free podcast. You have this. I'm being of service to give you tools, free resources that you can use in your own life because I'm being of service. So you don't always have to do something like that, but be of service. If you're not at service, then you're just solely focusing on what your own personal purpose is. But part of your purpose in life in general is going to have interpersonal relationships, right? You're going to have these interpersonal dialogues. You're going to meet people that are going to be opposite of you. You're going to see things. You're going to experience things with people. And this is a beautiful, beautiful thing. But you want to be of service, right? You don't want to just sit in a space of me, I, me, right? And now protect your peace. Don't give, but you got to be of service because it gives you a sense of purpose of being and belonging. Okay. These are all really important things. All right. Now you also have to find a passion. What is your passion? Now your passion is going to help you in your vision statement, in your personal vision statement. Yes, your passion is going to help you. What is your passion? If you're like, well, my passion is helping people. Okay. In what way? Well, I'm not sure. I just want to help them. Okay. Well, then go to your vision statement because you can't help everybody. I'm going to need you to know that up front. You can't help everybody. You can't change the world. You can change one person in that world, but you can't change. And that has to be on their decision and their choice. That's not for you to debate it on what it is. And this is important. Like you really have to get in that space of understanding that whatever your passion is, my passion is animals. My passion is my crochet. My passion, believe it or not, is this podcast. My passion is working with my clients. My passion is watching people grow. Like seriously, it's not even about me. My passion is watching people grow from feeling lost and broken and all of that. And then watching them find as I give them the tools and as we work together and watching them find a way to implement those tools and watch them grow. That is a passion of mine. That's a passion of mine. So don't be like, well, I don't have any passions. Well, okay. Well, give yourself opportunity. Another problem with finding a passion is you're impatient. You're going to have to be patient. You have to be patient in anything that you do, and especially in finding a passion, because what you might start your passion with, you might be like, oh my God, this is my life. You might be like, okay, well, I'm going to elevate. I'm going to evolve. I'm going to do things. Yes. Welcome to the world of being a human being. And guess what? When that happens, sometimes you're going to feel like you're going backwards. See, the problem is you're thinking that with your purpose, you have to constantly be in an like you have to go straight up. Like you have to, okay, I'm fixing myself. I'm changing myself. I'm doing these things. I'm making a difference. I'm being of service. I'm getting up. I'm meditating. I'm doing my 5 journals. No, you're doing those things. You're not being in the moment. You're doing them, right? Now, sometimes you are going to have to do stuff because if you're waiting to feel like doing it, that's going to be super problematic. Super problematic. Your passion and your purpose doesn't have to involve your family. And I know sometimes that's hard for people to hear because they're like, well, but I want these people to come along with me. And yes, your purpose isn't anybody else's purpose though. Right? So just because you want these people on your journey, you're going to have to understand that sometimes, I'm not saying all the time, but sometimes people and circumstances are going to change. And it might not be the people who are closest to you that continue on your journey. And that is part of your purpose. And this is where radical acceptance, letting go of your ego. You got to let go of your ego. You cannot find purpose in ego. You cannot do it under any circumstances. You will never be able to find your purpose in your ego. So if you want your husband or your spouse or whoever to be on your journey, great. If they're there, that's amazing. And if you're on their journey, it's amazing. But if you're not, then that's how it's going to have to be. So this is why you have to get very real in what your purpose and what your vision statement is for yourself. Because if you don't have that, you're going to inflict some of this ego. And when you have your ego, we already know ego can wreck a lot of things. And it can definitely wreck finding your purpose, because then are you finding your purpose because you're trying to be relevant? Because your purpose should have nothing to do with you being relevant. It has to come from an inner passion. Are you doing something different? Are you doing something to better and help, other people? And, is that what you're doing? Is that how you're functioning by putting yourself as your own priority? These are all important factors, because part of when you say you can't find your purpose, it's because you either want people to come along with you, or you want it to be done in a way that is going to work out. That's never going to happen. Your purpose has nothing to do with things working out or not working out. This is a purpose. This means in a purpose, you're going to have good days. You're going to have bad days. You're going to go forward. You're going to go backwards. You might go way back. You might go way forward, but that's part of your purpose, right? It's not all glitter and sunshine and roses. Okay. Gratitude. Gratitude is a foundation of so much in your life. And in order to find purpose, you must be grateful for the things, and not things like, my home and all that. Yes, be grateful for all of those things, but be grateful for, as I'm recording this, I'm looking out my window and I can see the buds on the trees coming in, and there's a little bit of wind blowing, and there were a few flurries. I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful for watching that tree. I'm grateful for knowing that in less than a month, there's going to be a bird's nest in that tree, and they're going to be baby birds, and I am grateful for that. I am grateful for being upright. I am grateful for being able to drink water. I am grateful for being able to record this podcast. It doesn't always have to be, I'm grateful for my job. I'm grateful for my health. I'm grateful for my family. I'm grateful. That's great, but it shouldn't be repetitive. There's endless amount of things in your world to be grateful for. Endless. That's right. Infinite, not just endless, infinite. So when you're doing your gratitude journal, let's not make this a bullet list. If you're doing your gratitude journal, it's not like, I'm grateful for this. I'm grateful for that. That's amazing. But are you really, what are you grateful about? I just explained that to you, what I was grateful about with the tree. The tree is deep. The tree is amazing. And I think that that's an important factor for you, is that you have to remember that when you're in that space of gratitude, you're going to also see the world differently. It's going to be easier to be of service to people, because you're not going to be like, well, I did this. This person isn't doing that. That's not being of service. That is transactional. That is trying to keep a score. That is most certainly not being of service. Not even a little bit. Okay. So this is why when you're sitting in gratitude and you're in the present space and you're sitting with your mindfulness and you're open, honest, and vulnerable with yourself, now we're able to start finding what that purpose is. Now, outside of finding your purpose, all right, you want to surround yourself with inspirational things, people, and energy. Okay, yes, in a perfect world, you would have no negative energy around you. Everybody would just be peace, love, and happiness, but that is not real. Okay, that is an unrealistic expectation. So one thing that you're going to have to get really snuggly with and really comfortable with is maybe your mom's not the person to surround yourself with. Maybe your grown children are not. Maybe your spouse isn't, right? But if you're not, and definitely watch what you're consuming, what you're hearing, your earballs, your eyeballs, you want to make sure that they are being nourished. Now listen, every second of the day doesn't have to be self-help and inspirational and love, peace, love, and happiness. I absolutely love murder podcasts. I listen to books on tape that are all gory and gross, and I need that in my life because it balances me out. I love that. I live for true crime. Okay. And yeah, for some people it might be like, well, that's not inspirational. No, it's a nice escape for me. And because I do the work that I do with human behavior, it's actually kind of interesting to me because as they're explaining the story, I'm like, oh, okay, well, this is what I would diagnose them with. And, so it's kind of fun for me. I know it sounds weird, but it is what it is. But for the most part, I'm not going to be around the negativity. I'm not going to sit there and scroll. I'm not going to do those things. You guys know I'm down to 7 minutes of unintentional scrolling. And that's on all my socials, not per social. And because it doesn't benefit me. Now I will, if I'm looking for something, I have certain things like a recipe or things with animals or something beautiful that I just need a mental escape from. Absolutely. But I'm doing it with intention. And so unless you're willing to surround yourself with things and people who are inspirational, who are not just cheering you on, but giving you And sometimes it's going to be harsh reality, right? Everything isn't like it's everybody else, right? So if you're looking for stuff that's like, oh, it's everybody else. No, that's not inspirational. That's ego. Don't look at things to fill your ego. Looking at things to fill your ego will only derail your space of purpose, right? So if you're looking for some content online that gets, yeah, that person was a jerk and it's all them, and you go, yeah, it is. That's not really serving your purpose. You know, like it really isn't. Like you're like, yeah, I knew I was right. Well, that's just stroking your ego. You have to lower the ego. If you're not going to lower the ego, if you're not going to walk hand in hand and realize that that you're not a priority for people, and that is okay, because you have to be the priority for yourself and they have to be the priority for themselves. And when that happens, then healthy relationships happen, because each of you know what your desires are. You're in a self-aware space where you can each share that with each other. And it's a beautiful, beautiful thing. But it isn't somebody else's responsibility to do that. So don't make that your purpose, where you're just trying to get everybody in the world to understand you. That is not a purpose. That's an unresolved trauma, right? Your purpose isn't to get everybody to understand you. That's not your purpose. That's just unhealed trauma that you're trying to resolve. So don't get those two things confused. Now, here's the thing. Spiritually, what do you align with? I did not say religiously. I said spiritually. What do you align with? What is it that you find makes you whole? What is that space in your life that says, oh my God, I feel so whole? Now, you guys know I hug trees, I go for walks, I save all kinds of critters. Yes, even the spiders that you guys hate, I save those too. Those are the things that I do because my purpose is to bring light to anyone and anything that is willing to receive it. That's what my personal vision statement is. Okay. Bring light mostly to myself, always first to myself. Bring light to myself. It's got to be me first. And continue to bring light and guidance and empowerment to people who are willing to receive it. It isn't going to be for everybody. I'm not going to be for everybody, and you're not going to be for everybody. That is not your purpose. Your purpose is not to make everybody like you. Your purpose is to be who you are, build the ship, and if they want to come, they will come. But don't try to force it. Don't try to force a square object into a round hole just for the sake of having it, because now we go back to the whole ego thing. So see, finding your purpose, you have to be very clear that this is your purpose. And like I said in the beginning, there may be people who don't like that purpose. There may be people who don't align with it. There might be people who kind of poo-poo it away. They're not your people. They're really not your people. Stop trying to make people your people. Okay? If they're not your people, they're not your people. And don't do a passion based on, or a purpose. Don't do a purpose based on financials. This is an important one, because everybody's like, well, my purpose is this, and then I can make a lot of money. Listen, follow your life, follow your vision statement, be of service, have gratitude, find that purpose. And when you find that purpose, yeah, very often you can make money off of it, but that should never even be a consideration in your brain of your purpose. Your purpose should not be attached to a dollar sign. I said it, and I mean it. Like, your purpose should not be attached to a dollar sign. That is not a purpose. That is a livelihood. Can your purpose be profitable? Absolutely it can. But you have to be solid with yourself. Your purpose helps you identify who you are. What are things that, what is the core to who you are? You'll never find a purpose until you know who you are. That's why you have to do some of this self-discovery work. You might not know your purpose. I did not know my purpose. I've been writing in that book, and I did not know my purpose. I was flittering and floating through life, just trying to figure it out, trying to search for happy. When you're searching for happy, you have no purpose. You have no purpose because you're feeling empty inside. You're still waiting for someone to come and save you. You're still waiting for that direction. You're still waiting for that. That's not purpose. You cannot find your purpose in an unhealed state. Now, you can have a vision statement and work towards that, right? Because in an unhealed state, you're also looking for fast fixes. You're looking for these things that do not exist. It is not rapid. It is not supposed to be overnight. It is not supposed to happen that way. And so When you're clear in that and you realize that you can't really necessarily find a true purpose in your life, you can work towards it, but you're not going to have a true purpose until your ego is dropped, right? Until you're no longer sitting there and holding grudges and you're still living in the past, and you can't find purpose true on what's the word I'm thinking of? Like where you aren't in a purpose for the sake of having a purpose. So you're actually in it from authentic. God, that's the word. I could not think of the word. An authentic purpose. Your authentic purpose has to be okay. You have to be okay if people don't like it. You have to be okay with those things. But you can't do that if you're still people pleasing. You can't do that if you're still blaming people. You can't do that if you're still living in a victim state. You can't have a purpose and live in a victim state, right? Because your purpose will never be authentic. Oh, you'll have a purpose. It's just not authentic. Authentic purpose is not expecting anything in return. Authentic purpose is not worrying about the financial outcome. Authentic purpose is from your soul. Authentic purpose doesn't need other people's approval. So part of why you can't find that purpose or you feel stuck and you go, I have no purpose, is because you still have that unhealed trauma. Unless you are willing to face your traumas and deal with it head on, it is going to be very difficult for you to find authentic purpose. You'll have purpose. We exist as humans. We have purpose. It's already there. But if you're looking for that soul feeling authenticity within that purpose, well, you're going to have to do the work. It is not going to come overnight. My purpose and what I do in that vision statement did not exist overnight. No, it did not. And it just kind of like manifested itself. So if you're like, well, how long is it going to take? I don't know. It could take 5 years. It could take 55 years. It could take 5 days. It could take 5 minutes. I don't know, because it's going to be individual based on how honest you are with yourself. If you're not willing to be honest with yourself and realize that other people aren't on your timeline, you're not on their timeline, stop comparing yourself, stop overthinking it, stop waiting for someone to show up, stop waiting for everybody to be happy with you, stop waiting for people to like you. None of those things are your purpose. None of those. None. Right? Your purpose, you will know your purpose, and your purpose should be an umbrella. That's not a word. An umbrella, right? So my hierarchy of being that light, remember I told you my vision statement of being that light for myself and other people, that's a big umbrella. So I help people from an emotional space. I help people from a physical space. I studied human behavior, different parts of the brain on how like trauma affects the body. And yeah, that's great. And then there's other areas, I'm very intuitive. So I work in that space. I do a lot of stuff with animals. I do a lot of things that you guys have no idea what I do, because it's just my personal passion. Your passion and your purpose also doesn't have to be approved and out there in socials for everybody to see. Everybody doesn't need to know everything. You should never have everybody know everything, because then you have nothing of your own. Then you're still seeking the approval of others. I keep things very close to the vest until it's time for me to tell you when I choose to tell you. And that's because my purpose, there's things I'm still working on with myself, and there's things I will still be working on within myself as long as I'm a grown human being, or as long as I'm an adult, a human being. Like, you're always going to be working on yourself. It's not fast. It's not quick, but you have to not avoid it. But so find your purpose, but take time. You don't need to know it today. You don't need to know the answers right now. None of those things have to happen, because they can't. Pump your brakes. You've got to be patient and realize that whatever your purpose is valid. But you want it to feel as though it's just second nature. It just comes naturally. There's zero transaction needed. And when you're there and you start really understanding and you start really living in gratitude and you start ingratiating yourself in that passion of or even finding what that passion is, it's going to give you what that purpose is. And that purpose is going to be broad. But your purpose is not just being a parent. It's not just being a teacher. It's not just having a job. It's not just getting married. It's not just buying the fanciest car. No, that's not your purpose. No, it's not your purpose. So don't identify your purpose through other people, because now that's codependent, right? Be the beacon of light and let them follow you, right? The moth goes to a flame, baby. The flame does not go to the moth.